messages in various languages for people who need language access. So we'll cue to that first.
Buenas tardes, si necesitan interpretación en español, pueden usar el computador aquí a la izquierda.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Si yon nan nou ta besoin traduction au créole, nous met vin au chez tabla, nous gen appareil pour nous s'apprendre, pour nous s'attendre enregistrement traduction dans appareil là.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for being in person and for being online. So my name is Candace Perry. I am the director of the Office of Environmental Justice at New Jersey's Department of Environmental Protection. And I'm so glad to be here with my two fellow panelists. We have Katrina Angerone, Katie Angerone, who is our Assistant Commissioner at the DEP for the Watershed and Land Management Program. And we also have Alyssa Arkaya, Deputy Regional Administrator at Region 2 of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So thank you so much for the two of you for being here. Many of you who have been following along and touring with us as we've been journeying on our environmental justice tour know that Commissioner Sean LaTourette, Commissioner at the DEP, and Regional Administrator Lisa Garcia at Region 2 of the US EPA usually joins us on this tour. So they could not be here, unfortunately. They send their regards and the regrets, but we're really excited to have both Katie and Alyssa on the panel to lend their expertise and their unique perspectives. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are gathered here tonight to talk about environmental justice here in Mercer County. So unfortunately, there are some communities because of their race, their income, and how well they speak English that experience more environmental pollution than others. And those same communities also tend to have less environmental benefits like green space and trees that cool and clean the air, soak up stormwater runoff, and provide relief from the effects of extreme heat. We know that environmental justice comes in many forms and they span across the entirety of our state, including in dense urban places like here in Trenton, but also in suburban and rural communities. Environmental injustices occur in inland communities and those along our Jersey Shore, rivers, and bays. In Mercer County, communities are contending with tough environmental injustices, from flooding to lead contamination to illegal dumping and more. And with the majority of these injustices, unfortunately, occurring in our state's capital in Trenton. And so this is why it is so important that we are here to speak with you about your lived experiences, and so that government can hear from those lived experiences and incorporate that feedback into the work that we do every day. And so our goal for this environmental justice tour is to meet with overburdened residents in every region and every corner of our state. And so Mercer County is the third stop on our tour this year, and we visited 12 other counties in the last 2 years. And we'll make some additional stops before the year's end. And so I want to give a special thanks to the Greater Mount Zion AME Church for lending your space to us. Thank you so much for hosting us. And to our community partners, to Faith Ann, to Sherelle, and others who journeyed around the community earlier today. We were able to tour several neighborhoods within Trenton and see some of the sites and the places to really add a good grounding and community context for our walking into this meeting today. So thank you for touring us. And so our agenda is pretty simple. In a moment, I'm going to hand the floor over to you to ask your question or say your concern, and we'll get into a little bit of discussion and dialogue. So I have some instructions for you on how we'll do that. But first, I want to pass the mic over to my fellow panelists to kick us off with some opening remarks. So Katie.
Okay. Hello, and thank you for joining us here and online. I will be brief because tonight is about hearing from all of you. As Candace mentioned, the Commissioner LaTourette sends his sincere regrets that he could not be here himself. At DEP, we are charged with serving the public by protecting air, land, water, and the natural resources. And a critical part of our mission is helping communities identify and respond to stressors and restore and enhance those natural environmental resources that really serve us all so importantly. We do that best when we are in the community, just like we were earlier today and we are tonight. And when we're hearing directly from the community, we need to hear challenges. We need to understand priorities. There's a saying from a book that I read recently. I think it's a Senegalese saying that says, if you're going to give a man a haircut, he had better be in the room. And I love that. Isn't that great? If our mission is to help our communities, well, we had better spend some time with them. So with that, I cannot promise that I'll have all the answers, but we will look into things. We will make connections and we will tell you the truth. That's our job. So glad to be here with you today, and I'll hand it back to Candace.
Over to Alyssa. Thank you.
Alyssa, yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So happy to be here today. I'm Alyssa Arcaya from EPA Region 2. And our EPA region covers New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, and 8 federally recognized Indian nations. So New Jersey is working in New Jersey is a big part of the work that we do. And I know our regional administrator, Lisa Garcia, loves to be at these events. And she is sorry not to be here today, but I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to be here in her place. And first, I just wanted to thank all of the community leaders who walked around with us in various neighborhoods, as Candace mentioned before this event. I learned so much and saw parts of Trenton that I had never seen before, so thank you. It was a really, really eye-opening and so interesting to get to talk to different members of the community about what's really on their minds and what they would like help with from either the state government, federal government, or local government. And of course, I just wanted to thank all of you for being here. This is after hours. For those of you here in the room, you could be home with your,
Is that better? Oh, it's so loud now. Oh, I'm so much louder. All right, I'm going to move this away so I don't blow your eardrums out. You know, you could all be home with your families, but you're here with us. So I wanted to thank you for taking the time, and whether you're online or here in person, your time is really valuable, and we're here to listen to you. So thank you so much for taking that time out tonight, and to thank New Jersey DEP for inviting us to partner with them on these meetings. It's really, really valuable for us, and we just appreciate all of the leadership at New Jersey DEP and having them welcome us on this road show, which is so important. We're really at EPA Region 2 focused on helping the community get the results that it wants. We know there are a lot of issues that are of concern here. Lead is on the top of many of your minds, and we are working diligently with New Jersey DEP on a number of fronts. First, to support the removal and replacement of lead service lines that bring our drinking water to our homes across the state. And we're really fortunate at this moment in time that we have a historic investment in infrastructure through the bipartisan infrastructure law to bring the funding we need to get those lead service lines out of the ground, out of the connections to our homes, and help to protect our communities. So here in New Jersey, Trenton is part of the Lead Service Line Accelerators Program, which is working to expedite the transition to safer water infrastructure. So it's very exciting that Trenton is one of a handful of communities participating in this. There's just 4 states across the country that are serving as pilot programs. New Jersey is one of them, and Trenton is one of the communities that is participating in the Accelerators program, which is really, really wonderful. And we also know that in East Trenton, there are issues with lead contaminated soils in residents' yards, near schools, and in some parks. And EPA is working to reduce the risk by testing soils for lead content under our Superfund program and engaging in work to protect students, schools at a local middle school from coming into contact with the soil by helping to put down sod and turf and grass so that we can make sure that we're removing one of those vectors for lead contamination that might affect our community's health. And we're really happy to have Lead-Free New Jersey as an active partner in helping to raise awareness about lead exposure, and having Sherelle Snyder here, who leads the Trenton arm of Lead-Free New Jersey, among many other hats that she wears in the community. Thank you so much, Sherelle.
You've been a consistent advocate for the health of the residents here and such a valuable partner for both the federal government and the state government in helping to keep lead away from everybody, but especially our children. So thank you. Alongside our efforts to reduce lead exposure, we're also working to hold parties accountable for their contamination in New Jersey. In Mercer County alone, we've performed nearly 40 inspections, which resulted in over $400,000 in compensation through penalties and injury relief. So these issues require us to reckon with New Jersey's industrial past and course correct for the injustices that underserved communities in Trenton have faced and are still facing. And this is what environmental justice is about. And it's a guiding principle for us at EPA. And the Biden-Harris administration has embraced that choice and is providing funding to help empower local action to target issues that residents understand the best. And so the one thing that I want to share with you before we hear from you, which is the important part of the night, is that we have a lot of programs that are here to help support communities. But one thing that I wanted to highlight is our Community Change Grant program, which is funded by something you may have heard of called the Inflation Reduction Act. But the Inflation Reduction Act is really, it's a climate change and environmental justice act. And this program gives funds to community-based organizations in partnership with each other or in partnership with local government or an institution of higher education. The funding is designed to support underserved communities in local decision-making, to empower community organizations and provide resources for local projects. And the cool thing about these programs is they have technical assistance baked into the process. So we have organizations that we are funded to work with community groups to help them prepare grant applications to provide technical assistance to help community organizations submit successful applications. So this is a really, this is a once in a generation moment for community groups to connect with federal funding to implement projects on the ground. And the grant application window closes in November 2024. So there's still time for community organizations to submit applications for really historic funding. So you can Google EPA Inflation Reduction Act, or you can talk to one of us from the EPA team here tonight. Can our EPA team just raise their hands? We have a number of people here from our team, so we'd be happy to connect you with resources, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to talk about the Community Change Grant Program because we're all very excited about it. But with that said, I will stop talking now. I'm very excited to hear from you all, so I'll pass it back to Candace to start the listening portion of the event. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you, Alyssa and Katie. So a few instructions for you, very simple. If you're able, I'll ask you to approach the mic at my left, your right, and just form a line, and we'll take person by person to ask your comment or your question. We are monitoring and seeing you online. So if you have a comment or a question, please feel free to put it in the chat, or you can use the raise your hand feature. It should be in the lower, either left hand or right hand of your Zoom controls. There should be a hand icon for you to click raise your hand. Do that, and then we'll be able to see you in the queue and call on you to unmute yourself and ask your question orally. We will also be reading out questions and comments in the chat, and so we'll take it that way. One last point that's really important is that the purpose for this meeting is to prioritize the voices from overburdened residents within Mercer County. And so I just want to read out those towns, those municipalities with overburdened communities in Mercer County. So it's East Windsor, Ewing, Hamilton, Heightstown, Hopewell, Lawrence, Princeton, Robbinsville, Trenton, and West Windsor. So we're going to yield the floor. I'm asking you to yield the floor to residents from those municipalities first. And if there's time at the end for anyone else, we'll take your question or your comment then, or some of the staff will be hanging out around after the event to dialogue with you then. Okay, so we'll take our first person.
Good evening. Thank you for hosting this event tonight. My name is Kathleen Deal, and I'm speaking right now as a private citizen. I live in the community of Mill Hill here in the city of Trenton, and I am the president of Trenton Cycling Revolution. We are the primary organization for complete and green streets in our community. We do annual cleanups along the DNR Canal. We try and advocate for the environmental equity of Trenton citizens. One of the big pushes we have is to make sure everybody understands that only 46% of Trenton citizens or Trenton households have vehicles. So having access to bicycles and pedestrian access is super important to Trenton residents. One of the items I'd like to also speak to today is there's a brownfield project called the Antico Square Skate Park that has been on the agenda for over 10 years. And there's been no movement on getting this brownfield taken care of and turning that brownfield into a recreation space for the youth of Trenton. And that is something that community members have been advocating for, again, for more than a decade, and it's stalled, and we can't seem to get any traction on that. So any leverage that DEP could do to get that moving, it would truly benefit the community. Another item I would like to also bring up is the noise and air pollution barriers that happen along the highways in the suburbs. They don't happen in Trenton. If you look at the Route 1 corridor along the near the Cure Arena and going between the Bridge Commission's land and Department of Transportation's land, there is no pollution barrier, either sound or air. And in the Mill Hill community, we have a toddler that lives on Clay Street that now has marked hearing loss for living directly next to the highway. So we need DEP to take some action to help remediate the air and noise pollution that comes into the communities, not just in Mill Hill, but there's spaces over near Bridge Street and other parts of the city of Trenton that need to be addressed. And we can't seem to get the Bridge Commission and DOT and the city all in the same space to make any progress on that initiative. And I think that was the other two things that I needed to address, but primarily the brownfield remediation for the skate park that, again, has been on the agenda for 10 years, no action, and the air and sound pollution barriers between the highways and the communities here in Trenton. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. So a couple of thoughts come to mind. First, I don't know if the city has been engaging in what's called the brownfield development areas. There's a BDA program within DEP administered by the DEP. And so that BDA program will designate certain neighborhoods within a municipality as a special district and establish like a community board and have some dedicated resources from the DEP and the city and this community citizen board to add some momentum and try to push the leverage forward on certain brownfield redevelopment projects within the city. So that BDA, let me just pull it up. That BDA program, the application for it closes on July 31st. So I can send you some information on that, some links. I'm wondering if the city is engaging in that. If not, they should. That might be a way to make sure that certain brownfields that the community are identifying as a priority for redevelopment get bumped up to the list and have some prioritized resources from DEP through this special BDA district. So
it did go to engineer review.
okay.
It stalled at that moment. The city was without a city planner for some period of time. They do now have a city planner, but that person is wearing many hats.
Yeah.
And so the progress on projects is not moving forward. So any ability to help move those along would be greatly appreciated.
Right. It sounds like through the BDA, there can be some allocation of additional resources to equip the city, like beyond just the planner, to move some of the projects forward. So that could be a good avenue. Would be happy to connect you to our brownfield redevelopment office to see what they might recommend as well. So did you want to add?
I would just
Okay.
say thank you, Kathleen. Exercise is so important, and mobility through bicycling is critical for, on multiple levels. So thank you for that. And as far as the noise and air pollution, we're very good at convening groups. So we'll see what we can do there.
Yeah, another thought about air pollution, and I wonder what you might add on, Alyssa. I do know that there is a state-run air monitor within Trenton, and that there have been some community scientist type air monitoring programs We can check, the staff can check to see.
I have a purple monitor on my property,
Okay.
which is on the back of my property is on Route 1.
Right,
So Mr. Lim at the
Okay.
Oh, good.
is the person that I communicate with about my purple air monitor.
Okay,
You're in
good.
touch with the right person.
Right, you're definitely in touch with the right person. I'm wondering about just like expanding that and elevating it. So you have one purple air monitor, but can we get more? There are a lot of resources under the Inflation Reduction Act for community air monitoring. So I don't know what you might add on, Alyssa, in terms of if there's any grant programs to maybe fund some additional monitors.
We can definitely look into that. Yes, so we can connect after this and connect you with some resources. And also say we also have a thriving citizen science program run out of our lab in Edison, New Jersey, where citizen groups can borrow equipment for community monitoring programs, and our lab team will work with community groups to make sure that they know how to use the equipment. So we do have this too, equipment, a citizen science equipment loan program that we might be able to connect you all with. And I'll just say, your point about the cycling and only 46% of residents having access to cars. I say Sherelle and her team members walked us around just the challenges that people have just navigating the streets, some unsafe traffic patterns. And I think the challenges for pedestrians are the same for cyclists too. So you're hearing your comments. I now having the benefit of having seen a lot of these areas, it just really deepens the experience for me to have been able to see some of these areas with some really dangerous traffic patterns, difficulty crossing streets, sidewalks that were in disrepair. So thank you for raising that as well. And on the brownfields front, off the top of my head, I'm not sure how we can help, but I'm sure that we can. So this is something that we can take back to our brownfields program and see if there's something that we can do to work with you to get some resources to dislodge this project.
Right.
So we'll take that back.
So I see that Lily, I'm going to pronounce your last name incorrectly. I'm sorry, Lily Kineshevik. You have your hand up online, so feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. It took me a bit to unmute myself. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for taking my question. So I live in Trenton, longtime resident, and I wanted to address the trees. So the tree issue is a very important issue, to quality of life and air quality, and as you said, runoff and all sorts of things. It's a big part of environmental enhancement and maintenance, and of course environmental justice. So Trenton has a long history of great dedication to our trees in our parks and in our streets, our street trees, our shade trees, and also among residents who have their own trees. But historically, we had an arborist, we had a city arborist, and we had resources dedicated to maintaining the tree cover and enhancing it. I know the state has helped and the county recently in addressing the issues with the health of the trees in Cadwalader Park, replacing a whole bunch of trees, but continuing in that. I'm president of the Hilltonian Association, is a civic association in Trenton for the neighborhood near the Cadwalader Park, one of the neighborhoods that borders Cadwalader Park. And so we very much appreciate the work's been done in Cadwalader Park. But for the residents who own trees, there's a continuing issue of maintaining those trees. As you know, all the blights and the pests that have affected our historic, northeastern deciduous forests, they're affecting our city's trees as well. And it's very expensive for the city to maintain and try to take care of what we have, but also for the homeowners and the residents. It's just very expensive to get tree work done. So I don't know if there's anything, this has come up in our neighborhood and I've been asked about it, if I can find out, is there anything for homeowners or residents to address the trees that they're trying to maintain or that need service, need pruning, or need to be replaced because they're dying? And that's my question.
Yeah, it's a really good one. So I do know that DEP has an urban community forestry program, and they recently announced some grants for municipalities to sign up and get some education related, like training related grant dollars to train municipal staff to do community engagement with the residents to teach them about tree education and maintenance. So I'm not sure if the city of Trenton has applied for that grant. It's still open. And if so, the city should. And so we can reach out to the city representatives and encourage them to apply. Other than that, I don't know if you might add anything, Katie.
I mean, what I can add is ideas. I did quite a bit of work researching successful tree programs across the nation. Baltimore has a really interesting model that has evolved over time, as does Philadelphia, that involves city government as well as some funding from other levels of government and volunteers and workforce development at the same time. So to me, there's an opportunity here in this particular complex issue, which is really just so simple, right? We need trees. We need the cities to be cooler. We need the water to be slowed down. We looked at some amazing traffic calming today. Thank you so much for showing us that. And it's these interesting bump outs in Trenton where they've painted on the thank you, on the in the street to sort of slow people down. Those could be actually planted areas. So that's something that I think we need to continue to talk with each other about and exchange ideas and really look around the nation at who's doing what and how they've accomplished it. And there's a lot of lessons learned, right? Baltimore, as I said, they evolved their program. They did it differently. But I think we need to keep having these conversations and share the research that we've found. And I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to know about that. I think I had a fellow who put a paper together to that end. So happy to share that so that we can learn some lessons and try to figure out if there's a solution here that results in more trees, more jobs, cleaner water, and everything we're aiming for.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Sullivan. I'm an East Trenton resident for over 35 years. The question or comment that I want to make tonight is I will be working with the city of Trenton with Parks and Recreations at one of the parks that we just toured, the St. Joe's Park in the East Trenton area. The park was found to have high lead levels in it. So my question is, I'm looking for some type of partnership. We'll be doing the breakfast and lunch program with the children. So I was talking to one of you guys to see if we could maybe do some type of summer activities with the kids, making them aware, just letting them know of the situation. And another challenge that I'm finding with my position with the city this year is just getting people to come out. A lot of the people are afraid to come out to the park and let their children play at the park because there's these signs out that says, with lead and everything. So is there a way that, we could possibly talk to some of the parents in the community, kind of let them know, about the park, what's going on, because it's just a big sign there and it makes the people worried. But then they want us to give out food to the community, but people are scared. They're scared, that, they don't want their children to get sick. So it's hard and it's good because we want to feed the community, but it's hard because of the situation right now with the lead. So that's all. Thank you.
So it sounds like what you're after really is some interpretation of those signs, which are necessary, I would imagine, to notify folks, but to maybe go a little bit further beyond that and explain exactly, what it means that we have those signs up and what we can do. So we'll have to noodle that one.
And I think we'd like to be able to work with you because I think part of what we're trying to do with the historic pottery site in East Trenton is get the word out to residents and help them understand what we're doing. What is it? What are the risks of lead? What does it mean? What are the exposure pathways? So, I mean, if that's a goal of yours too, to help better communicate, a sign, it may be just enough information to make you afraid, but what does it really mean? What are the practical steps that you need to take? What do you need to know? So I think we would be very happy to work together to see how we can get out in the community and provide some really concrete information about risks, about what we're doing, how to keep your kids safe, and what are the things that you can do. Because if this is a long-term project to clean up these sites, and we also want people to be able to enjoy their communities. So I think our EPA team would love to connect with you after this and talk a little bit more about what we could do together.
Yeah, Vanessa was on the tour that we took earlier.
Yep.
And what impressed me so much is the connectivity of the community and the residents. Everyone knew each other. The way that you all were able to just say hello as we were passing by. You knew every single person's name. So that tells me that you have relationships, deep relationships, that you've already built them and you already have everything that you need to turn people out. And so what we can do is to provide some of the technical information, and what we can do together is figure out ways to break down that information, to communicate it better, like we're talking about, and just kind of organize and pull people together. So we would love to, I know that you're connected to my staff. We would love to just like maybe plan a call after this and see what we can do and like brainstorm to pull together like a community meeting or an event. We'll show up, we'll invite EPA to show up as well. So you let us know, we're happy to have a call. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jamie Parker. I'm representing folks who use the services at the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen. I want to underscore walkability because a lot of folks don't have cars and the streets it's just sometimes just dangerous to walk on. Also, I want to just throw some ideas out there. If we could have more public restrooms and public drinking fountains, that would be very much appreciated. And I feel like there's a lot of people who would use those things. So I wanted to put those out there, and just safe, affordable places to live. I know that that's not necessarily environmental protection, but we just need those things. That's all.
Thank you. Jamie, yeah.
Jamie, okay. Thank you for that, Jamie. I think many of us in the room can share in the sentiments behind what you're saying. So often when we do these things, we get questions and comments that, like you're saying, is not totally within the jurisdiction of the DEP. But the good thing about government is we have connections and relations to other agencies. Yep. And so both at the state level and the local level. So would be happy to take this idea back to the city and see what resources and latitude that they have to increase public restrooms and water fountains within the city. But might also be like a Department of Community Affairs issue as well. And so we'll do some research to see where this idea might land and circle back to you if we can.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So I'm Pete Kasabek. I live here in Trenton, been here a long time, Trenton resident. I'm also neighbor of Kathy and big fan of Sherelle. So I've got a few. Two of the items already came up, but I just wanted to add another point to them. One is the air pollution issue. I think there are some things being done, but the community in general doesn't know what's being done or know what the quality of the air is. And so, having more information available and more transparent would be really helpful. So that's the air pollution one. The other one is the trees. There are some great programs. You guys are going to be starting to plant some more trees in Trenton, which is great. But as the person earlier, Lily, said, is one of the big problems that Trenton has had is that our urban forest has been declining, and it's been declining because we have nobody in the city taking care of it. And so what's really more important than the trees, planting them, which is important, is the maintaining of them. And there are that I know of, no state programs that help provide the resources for staff to maintain the trees. And that goes beyond just the trees that are there. What happens is trees die, they get cut off at the stump, and we end up with stumps. And then you can't even plant another tree there because you've got a stump there. So there's a whole maintenance that really is important in the city. Third one is we're about a half a block from the Battle Monument, which a lot of people don't know, but that's the state park. And the monument itself, you used to be able to go up it. And it was a real tourist attraction, and it was a place that you could see the entire city from the top of the Battle Monument. We would love the state to step up again and get that open.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the last one is the DNR Canal runs through Trenton. But there are a number of places that are not safe. They're not easy to access. You could ride your bicycle from Frenchtown all the way to Trenton, from Trenton all the way up to Princeton and New Brunswick, except there's a number of places in Trenton that make that difficult or not safe. So I would prioritize that if we could.
We saw one of those places just
Mm-hmm.
now.
Oh, yeah.
So where it was right there, but not accessible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys for coming out. It's always fun working with you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
All right.
I really appreciate the comment about trees. They are infrastructure, and all infrastructure requires operation and maintenance. And the sooner we all get that sort of into our cognition, the sooner we can find the resources we need to support the operation and maintenance of trees.
Absolutely. I'm really stuck on this. It's called the Leafing Out Grants under the New Jersey Urban and Community Forestry Program. I'm really stuck on that because I do believe that grant program provides money to cities for maintenance, like for their staff to be maintaining trees better. And I don't know, I'm looking at my team if they know if Trenton applied and is one of those ones, but I will definitely check on that. And if not, make the connection.
Can I go next?
Also, I just wanted to say one more point to wrap up on Pete's questions. Also, we just hired a new urban parks administrator. And so I want to have a conversation with her about the DNR Canal and the Battle Monument, and to see if she has any ideas about your 2 points, Pete. So thanks for that.
Those are great.
And who's speaking online?
Hi.
Can you tell us your name?
Hi, it's Nikki Mosgrove. I signed up because I'm a Trenton Quaker, and this is part of our corporate witness, and I shared it widely, but I also coordinate grants for the city.
Okay.
So we did get $850 for the leafing out program for the trees.
Okay.
We're applying for the EPA Community Change Grant. We're trying to get like $20 million, and we're looking through a lens of equity. And yes, it's for brownfields in Amtico. We also got congressional special appropriations for brownfields and parks. I'm not the PR person. So, but I just,
Nikki, we need to get you a mic over here.
Right.
No.
Thanks, Nikki.
no,
She's solving it all.
no. And we're talking to the state about the Battle Monument Park, Pete. Hi, Pete.
Okay.
And we're about to go out to bid for contract for 0.7 of a mile for DNR. I'm not leaving the city until I connect the orphan trails, and that's federal highway transportation money. So that's it. I wasn't supposed to be talking about work stuff. I'm just listening.
We're glad you
We're of the
spoke.
Oh, thanks for joining us,
community,
Nikki.
But I hope
Yeah,
I answered everybody's money questions.
Thanks for adding the additional context, and especially about the leafing out grants. I'm like, I think that Trenton received a grant, but didn't want him to speak and say that you got it and you didn't get it. So thanks for those additional points. It's really glad to hear that there are some applications and things moving within the city to get the appropriate resources that the city needs to address a number of the concerns that we're hearing tonight. So thanks.
Come on down.
Hi.
Hi, is there anyone online or?
No, I was just looking where it's all you.
Okay, so my name is Matt Larkin. I was born and raised in Trenton, actually. And you're talking about the pottery fields. My father did pass away 50 years ago, working at American Standards Hub. But I'm really here to talk about pollution. This part of Trenton so this little map we have here, it's hard to see, but it's color coordinated. The red part is right here. And it is 95 to 100% of the national percentile for asthma rates. So other parts of it are 90%, 80%, 70%. So the real source of this is ozone. DEP data tells us that 80% of New Jersey ozone is motor vehicle. That's because DEP has done such a good job with all the stationary source. So you're really not allowed to do much for cars. So cars are the issue. We talked about Trenton not having many vehicles. There are approximately 400,000 cars that go through this area every day. So 80% of your ozone material comes from motor vehicle exhaust. 10 times the Trenton average, the number of cars drive around on Turnpike, Route 1, 95, 295. So there really is a solution for this. There is, it is really very simple. You can put additional catalytic converters on these cars. You can really reduce the NOx. You can really reduce the ozone. But there needs to be the political will. So, I mean, it really is, this is, and you know, we talk about the community change grants. So those are really good because it lets people do something about their own pollution, you know, so it really is an important grant. And so we're looking to partner with a community organization because, you know, you can put these things on vehicles. It takes an hour. It's like a muffler. You could do it locally. So, you know, you raise business for your own community and people make cleaner air. So I really, I mean, I have a lot of data on it. But this is, but I know you mentioned before about, Candace, about the air quality. Well, this is the EPA environmental justice map. Okay. So they know enough to say how bad asthma is in Trenton in particular. The New Jersey State Health Assessment Database, NJSHAD. In New Jersey, the ratio of asthma ER visits for Black people is 8 times what it is for white people. When you go to Trenton, it doubles. So we know, I mean, you can read it all. None of this is my data. So we know about the racial disparity and we know what the sources are. And so we really need an action plan that mitigates the pollution today, as well as mitigating pollution in the future. So for example, EVs are going to be a great way to eliminate tailpipe emissions. But the federal government will tell you that the average age of a car is 12 years, and we still drive those 12-year-old cars 12,000 miles. So we have many years before EVs are a significant portion of our motor vehicle population. So we need to do something today for the kids who are going to the ER today for an asthma attack. And so what I ask is for DEP and EPA, and look, I've always been in research and development. I'm an engineer. So the government has to pay for the first ones. But in addition to EVs, I want you to say, and provide money to reduce emissions today on the 400,000 cars that drive around the city. We went to one of these meetings in Elizabeth where they do have more air quality monitors. They got a grant for that.
Yeah.
And what they saw Elizabeth has Newark Airport, and it has the port, sorry. They're very scheduled. They always have the same emissions because they work 24/7. All the fluctuations were coming from motor vehicles. DEP data, 92% of every mile driven in New Jersey is in a gasoline vehicle. 92% of the miles are gasoline vehicles. 80% of the NOx comes from mobile source. NOx makes ozone. Ozone is asthma. That's what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for your position and for all the data that you were telling us about. If you could leave it, yes, if you can leave it with my staff, we'll be happy to pass it along to our air quality program and maybe have some further discussions.
And I would be remiss if I didn't point out, data drives policy. You very clearly know that, Matt. So thank you for sharing it. I also want to make sure that folks in the room know about New Jersey's Healthy Community Plan, where you can see on a nice report that I think is pretty accessible. Things like asthma rates, proximity to open space. A lot of the things that we're talking about today are there. It's health data, environmental health data alongside environmental data, and just sort of showing you the picture. And what's great about it too is that it will show you not only for your municipality, right? We've got 564 of these reports across the state, but it will show you also the county. And so that you can, and then the state average for those types of things. So you can see exactly how you compare, and you can start to see some of the numbers are in there, I think, that you raised, Matt. So thank you. Healthy community planning. That is on our website. So if you were to just Google Health NJDEP, and it's actually, I should not take away credit from our sister agency. That was done with a CDC grant through the New Jersey Department of Health and DEP. We're one of the only states in the nation that takes those funds, the environmental public health tracking funds, and we work together as two state agencies, and we put that together, I want to say a year ago, maybe two. And it's great. You can look at your municipality and you can see all kinds of interesting data. Healthy Community Plan. Yep.
Yeah, if you Google Healthy Community Planning NJ,
there you go.
It'll pop up as like the first link.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, so
It's all right.
I know, hello, my name is Sherelle Snyder. I am a resident here in Trenton for the last 20 years. I moved out here from New York. I didn't think I wanted anything to do with Trenton, but Trenton is a beautiful place with beautiful people. We just need more people to care and do the right things for the environment, for the people. We know that our municipal government can't do it all. We know that we can get the money, but if you don't have the capacity to do the work, then the money is just sitting there. So it needs all the help that it can get from DEP, EPA, who am I forgetting? CDC, I'm forgetting other people, but DOH, we need help. And I just want to say, guys, I'm proud that you're here because this speaks volume. That means that people are listening to us and the help is here. Data does drive, the policy. But sometimes we get the data and the data just sits, and because we don't have everyone to go out there and do the work. So some of the issues that we are dealing with in the East Trenton neighborhood, which is actually the North Ward, we have an overburden of traffic. I mean, our children are our future. I mean, we're not going to be here years from now, but they are. And the things that we clean up or the mess that we make is going to be for them in the future. So the traffic issues are horrible, as Kathy talked about. We have motorcyclists or bicyclists that's hard for them to get around. We have a lot of residents having accidents, getting hit by cars, going in the hospital, having surgeries, coming back home, still walking the streets. Everyone's going fast through Trenton, just moving fast. And then we don't enforce. Can we enforce something? Can y'all help? Maybe talk to DOT. We have to do something about our traffic. And as you can all see, the pollution issue with lead. I mean, Trenton, I hear so many people talk about, oh, the children are so bad in Trenton. Oh, the parents need to do this and the parents need to do that. But we have poor water infrastructure. We have poor housing infrastructure. We have environmental justice issues dealing with lead. Lead could, change your behavior. Lead reduces your IQ. Lead messes with your learning. So because we know we have a lot of poor housing, why not, instead of, taking our children in Trenton and throwing them to the side with IEPs and putting them in other schools, saying, oh, they're unruly, can't get help. Let's see if they may just need a lead test. I mean, we can prick the finger, see if they've been exposed to this, and then get them the help they need. Less money will be spent down the line if we help with taking care of these issues now. Thank you to Let Free New Jersey and Heather Soigay. And I hope I said it right. I always mess up that last name. Because of Let Free New Jersey and the 4 hubs that we have right now in the state of Jersey, we know in neighborhoods with low-income Black and Brown people, they are dealing with environmental justice issues. And we're trying to raise up the voices of the community to help, make a change. But resources, capacity, whatever DEP can do to help us with the resources we need to get the job done would be helpful. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sherelle. I don't have an on-the-spot answer for you, but I'm hearing what you're saying, and we'll continue to be in discussion and relationship with you and help however we can. So thank you.
And Sherelle, I just keep looking at your t-shirt, like get the lead out of Trenton, and it's so important, and the effects of it can be lifelong. And as you point out, there's multiple pathways for people who live in areas like this. It's soil, it's paint in homes, it can be lead service lines under the street or even in a household, so that you have these multiple stressors that build on top of each other. And then what's the impact for a family living in this area affected by all 3? So, and I think the point that you make, let's get tested, let's get kids tested, it's so important to understand, what are we really dealing with here? What is the data telling us? And so I think if there are ways that we can partner better with Trenton to get that message out about getting kids tested, we want to hear ways that we can more effectively communicate that message as we're working down here on the historic pottery site.
And once again, working with our partners at DOH, which we do really well, we do have a potential lead exposure map that is out there. But to your point, data that's challenging to understand or inaccessible is not helpful. So that is a tool that we continue to build with DOH in hopes that we can get the message out. But there are always opportunities to improve. And I have to I think, third, your message about testing our children. We have to test the children.
Thank you. So I forgot to mention, all right, I don't want to sound like because we all know we can't do anything with complaints, but partial solutions, we can get, some things done. So I cannot go on without saying that I am so proud of the work that East Trenton Collaborative is doing with Rutgers Environmental Occupational Health and Science Institute. And right now we have Sean Stratton. He's a PhD student. We're working with him and they're out here in the community. And we don't call them citizen scientists. We call them community scientists, where we're not getting just the community, come volunteer. No. We're paying them. They're learning how to collect soil, to do soil samples, and to the help of academia, they're taking it back to the EOC and studying it. So Sean, before you leave, you got to come up and talk about some of the work because he's great. I mean, we go in, he's testing, and we got to hire other people. We got to get the community. We can't do everything for them. Let's equip them with the information and the knowledge that they need so they can go out there and get good jobs that they can help with themselves and their family. Sean, what you're doing is great. What Rutgers is doing, academia, etc. So will you talk about it as well?
Let's give it up for Yoshi. They always do a great job.
Sean's put on the spot.
Hello, my name is Sean Stratton. I'm a PhD candidate at Rutgers School of Public Health, mainly partnered here with Sherelle Snyder. Some of our community scientists are actually in the room right now. We have Gwen, Habib. Did Vanessa leave already? Vanessa already left. But Sherelle approached us a few years ago about the contamination in the East Trenton neighborhood, with especially the high levels of lead in soil. So together we formed the community partnership to test the lead in soil. And then it's great that EPA has also been testing lead in soil. In addition to our testing of lead in soil, we're also testing house dust and lead paint inside the homes because we know, and also drinking water as well. But we know there's not just one pathway of exposure for lead, but there's multiple pathways. We have lead in paint, we have lead in house dust, we have lead in soil, and we have lead in water. So working with Sherelle and the East Trenton Collaborative, we're trying to help empower the community with this data to hopefully promote change. But one of the questions I have for EPA, I know EPA is out in the neighborhood doing all the soil testing and possibly the NPL listing later, but we know that soil also gets into the homes. So what is EPA planning to do about the potential contamination of house dust inside the home? Not just in the streets and in the yards, but the lead inside the home.
That's a great question. And I'll tell you, I don't have an immediate answer for you. So I'm going to take it back to our team and would love to get in touch with you to talk about it more. And I've heard about your research and I'm glad that you're here tonight talking a little bit about it and all the work that you've done. And as you pointed, it's inside the house. It's not just soil, but it's dust, it's paint chips, it's all kinds of things. And like who's down on the floor and then putting their fingers in their mouths, right? So it's our most vulnerable parts of our community. So I don't have an answer for you now, but I will take it back. And thank you for asking about it.
And I have one question for NJDP.
Mhm.
So East Trenton is not unique in this.
Mhm.
This is not just a Trenton issue. This is a Newark issue. This is an Elizabeth issue. This is a Camden issue. This is all the environmental justice communities across New Jersey. What does EPA, or I'm sorry, not EPA, what does NJDP have planned to help alleviate some of these stressors in these environmental justice communities? What resources can the NJDP provide to reduce this exposure, but not just on the lead front, but also on the air pollution front, the urban heat island effects, environmental justice stressors that seem to be going unchecked for so long?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I can start us off. It's part of the reason why we're doing this environmental justice tour is to meet with communities like you're naming, Sean, and to ask what are their most pressing stressors. We can look at data and we can see from the data what some of those might be, but it's different when you just hear from the community about what their priorities are. And so our responsibility is to move toward the community's priorities, not our own. And so in going across the state and doing our tour, we've been able to identify some of that, working with community-based organizations and talking to them about what their concerns are. And so there's been a bunch of follow-ups post those sessions on different stressors that we're working on. One in particular to know on the urban heat island front, since you mentioned that, is the DEP just recently received a grant from the EPA. So EPA put out what's called their government to government environmental justice grant under the Inflation Reduction Act. And so the DEP will be receiving $1 million to do some community science work in about 5 or 6 different municipalities. A couple of the ones you named are some of our pilot towns that we're going to be working with to have some heat sensors, both mobile and stationary. We'll be able to monitor and track temperature readings within those communities and use that data to create an urban heat island statewide map. And so we're really excited to have that mapping to be done starting next summer and working with those community scientists to collect some of that data. Also with the temperature readings that we'll be doing, because we know that temperature is a variable that will affect PM 2.5 and ozone levels within communities. We'll also be having that instrumentation to check readings for PM 2.5 and ozone. So we'll have an air monitoring component, we'll have the urban heat island and temperature and humidity component kind of all wrapped up into this pilot study with about 5 or 6 municipalities. So really excited to be partnering directly with community-based organizations on that urban heat project. So stay tuned. We can be in conversation if you want to talk about it, but we're excited to receive that grant from EPA to further that project. And so, you know, the work looks different in every place. It's why the Office of Environmental Justice exists, is to hear the concerns from community and then bring that back. So what we do after these sessions is we bring these points of feedback back to our different divisions and offices and bureaus within the department. And we'll have just open conversations about, you know, the community gave us this feedback. What do you think can be our next steps? And so it just looks a little bit different in each community, what those next steps might end up being. But that is our typical process, is that we kind of hash it out within with our colleagues within the department to see what we can do to reduce stressors. Another thing that I have to pitch and make sure that folks know about is our environmental justice law. So that piece of legislation and our accompanying regulations that implement the law is one of our key and really important tools to reduce stressors within communities. So that law gives the DEP the authority to consider when certain facilities are requesting permits from the state, to consider the amount of pollution that those overburdened communities are already facing, and to ask ourselves the question, is this overburdened community experiencing more than their fair share of pollution? And if so, to do something about it. And so the something that we can do is to deny permits for new facilities if that facility cannot avoid disproportionately adding pollution to those communities, or we can set conditions within the permits. And so we can require facilities to reduce emissions over time, to transition to renewable energy over time, to recirculate their truck traffic from going through communities to going around communities, and different opportunities there. The opportunity for the public is to be attending public hearings. And so there are public hearings at the facility who's requesting an application from the department has to have. And so that is your opportunity to learn more about the proposal that the facility is proposing to the DEP and to say what you think. And from that feedback, we'll be able to use that to set those conditions, to ask and require, not ask, those facilities to do better, and in many cases, to reduce emissions. So anything you might add?
I think you covered it all.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So thanks, Sean. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Charles Hardy. I came in a little late, maybe I don't know if this is a repeat, tell me so. The New Jersey Green Amendment that is proposed in the legislature that would guarantee to give a constitutional right to people to have clean air and a clean environment, so to speak. Would that make a difference to DEP? Would it be an advantage or even a disadvantage in any particular way if that amendment is passed? I know some of us are working hard to get it, but it'd be nice to know that it would actually make a difference, or what kind of difference it would make. If it's just going to make a difference on a judicial level where it gets to be something that people in lawsuits can say, he can't do that because of this, then it doesn't affect you. But what's the feeling?
Yeah, so, as far as a green amendment, we really do put our faith in the legislature to make those sorts of decisions for us. So I'm gonna give you kind of a non-answer there.
Okay.
We're the executive branch.
Right.
And we do what we're told. We are given our mandates, and mandates are always helpful in directing us to what we're supposed to do. Certainly mandates like the Clean Water Act, like the Clean Air Act, that then we have state versions. Those are essential. There are guideposts. There are our goals. But as far as how the legislature sees fit to do that, it's up to them.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello again, I'm Matt Larkin. So nothing from me, but two things came to my mind here. So like you, we have been going to some of these community groups in the overburdened communities of New Jersey. Our focus is asthma and ozone. But I know that Newark, when we were up there, Roz Baraka said he did something, I don't know, but he said he was like able to push through, because Newark had a really bad lead pipe problem too. And I don't know, he said that he did something to, go through the administrative stuff and get more money. So they've replaced their pipes really quickly. So I just want to share that. So I don't know, Candace, if you or someone can reach out to his office but I remember he said that we were up in Newark and he said he did something and he was able to get more money done right away. And because I've been to a couple of these, I see two people from the Fordham University, and I want to ask a question. So these are people who are here to help small groups get EPA community change grants, right? And so isn't one of those requirements that if the community wants this thing, so for your park, go talk to her about money for something to do the lead. Anyway, that was all.
A matchmaker.
Thanks, Matt. No, that's a good pitch for Fordham. I want to invite you all to come up to the mic if you want to explain a little bit further about the opportunity. Please feel free. We do also have some resources and materials on the Thriving Communities. Help me out. Thriving Community. No, Fordham. Thank you. Thriving Communities Grant Makers Program. Yeah, tell us about it.
Hello, so I'm from Fordham University, the Center for Community Engaged Learning. I don't know how many of you know that the university was awarded a Region 2 grant.
Can you speak directly?
Which
into-
is
yeah.
supposed to go to the community. So if you have a 501c3 organization, you would be able to apply. The application opens on September 1st. And in the back, we do have sheets that give you instructions on how to apply. So a lot of the work that you were talking about, working with you, whatever it is that you would like to do to help, that's what the funds are supposed to be used for. So you can see me in the back afterwards and I'll share more, or you could scan. You can set up, you can schedule office hours to meet with someone who will go through everything with you so you can get a better understanding of the funds that are available and what you can use them to do. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks so much. I'm so glad Fordham University is here. And I think this is something that with this like historic investment in funding that's come in through the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law, that we have a couple of different organizations that are working with different parts of those laws to help connect communities, to help connect municipal governments who are not traditionally getting federal grants, to really connect them with this money and get it out the door to communities where it's needed most. And Fordham is an example of one of our grantees that is then using that money to get the message out. So I'm so glad that you're here. And please, everybody, if you are interested in learning more, take advantage of this opportunity or get contact information for Fordham. This is what they're here for, is to help the communities and to serve communities. So thanks so much for coming up and explaining a little bit about it. And if I could just say, going back to Matt, your comment about Newark and the work that they did on lead service line replacement. So I'll just say, I know New Jersey DEP was one of the partners with Newark and EPA, but New Jersey DEP did a lot of work in helping Newark replace their lead service lines across the city, really at lightning speed. And now they are really, not without challenges. And it's not perfect, but they really are still a national model for how to do things quickly. And I wonder if one of the things that came up at the Newark meeting was the way that they were able to change, I believe it's a city code or a municipal code that allowed them to access the part of the lead service line on private property. And then that is a real challenge. And that's what allows, and that is when we're talking about bipartisan infrastructure law and the funding that's specifically available for lead service line replacement. It's to use that money, we've got to replace the entire lead service line. It's great to do it up to the property line, but what's the difference to the people who live there unless the entire line is replaced? And so what Newark was able to do is to change their municipal code to essentially require it. So they were able to get it from the main under the street all the way out. And that was a real success that other communities are aware of. I know New Jersey DEP and EPA are certainly aware of it. And we are telling this story across the country of the different things that Newark did to be able to replace over 20,000 lines in just a matter of years, when other communities had been talking about, oh, this is decades. Like, no, it can be done with political will. And then how do we replicate this elsewhere? And that's some of the things that we're talking about through the Lead Service Line Accelerator program that Newark is also part of, and working to advise other communities, not just in New Jersey, but across the country, about how to do it faster, better, and more efficiently. So thank you for raising that.
Hello. Good evening, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Tolani Taylor. I'm actually a resident of Lawrenceville, just not too far from here, but I'm actually representing Clean Water Action. I work as the Zero Emissions and Warehouse Organizer, and I just wanted to echo many of the concerns and issues that others have said before me regarding air pollution and asthma rates. And, those same concerns are some of the things that I hear often from many of the different communities I engage with regarding the growing warehouse development happening, not just here in this county, but all across the state. So I actually have two questions. One, what can the DEP do, realistically to address the growing warehouse development, not just here in Mercer County, but across the state? And, regarding the EJ map that was also referenced, I also wanted to know if the DEP has taken into consideration in including warehouses on the EJ map to ensure transparency to impacted communities like EJ and overburdened communities, because that's where a majority of these warehouse developments are sited, and they can cause other problems like flooding or water contamination based on, where it's sited. But the biggest one is the air pollution and deteriorating air quality. So thank you.
Thanks, Talani. I can take the second part of your question first. So we would be open to updating EJ map to add additional stressors for which we can verify that we have a good data source for. So we have no opposition to adding warehouse to EJ map as a stressor. We just don't have a data set for it. There's no publicly available data set that the state can access that will give us quality, reliable data for where warehouses are within the state. And we've looked into it. Katie might be able to speak more to it. We just don't have that now. If it comes a point in time when we do have that, we would consider adding it.
Yeah. And well, I'm just going to add, I wear two hats. I'm also a local councilwoman. The most powerful tool that anyone has to determine what your land use looks like, whether it includes warehouses or not, is your zoning. And I do believe that the State Planning Commission put together a guidance document to try and help folks really understand that. That's how a community decides what they look like, whether they're trying to figure out floodplains, or warehouses. It's zoning. It's such a powerful tool. So really working with the local governments to make sure they understand what's allowed under their current zoning is critical. So those are the two tools that spring to mind when I think about warehouses. Talk to the local officials. I regret if that makes me sound like a bureaucrat who's passing the buck, truthfully, but this is a home rule state. That is where the land use decisions are made. The DEP takes a look at things that are special resource areas like wetlands. That's the program that I have, wetlands and highlands and the coastal areas. There's resources that we hold in the public trust for you and that do not neatly abide municipal boundaries, particularly stormwater, right? Doesn't care, and floodwaters doesn't care where the municipal boundary is. Those are the resources and the resource areas that the state has jurisdiction over, not so much your individual land use decisions at the local level. Those are decided by 564 municipalities across the state. We can help, but that's where the real power is in those zoning and planning boards. Yeah.
The EJ law, does it apply to warehouses?
Well, in terms of in addition to its utility trucks and traffic, I don't know the extent of all that.
Yep. Yeah, I'll repeat the question. So Matt Larkin from earlier was asking whether or not warehouses are subject to the environmental justice law, if that law will pick up warehouses and force the DEP to consider their permitting. So the answer is no. Warehouses is not a facility that is subject to the environmental justice law. There are 8 types of facilities. We're talking about incinerators and power plants and recycling facilities and so on and so forth. Warehouses are not one of those 8. Only if a warehouse was seeking a major Title V air permit could it be captured under the environmental justice law. Warehouses don't typically need that major of an air permit, so it's not covered.
It's a good question.
Okay, anyone else? Otherwise, I'll start to close this out. Okay. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, for asking your question and, saying your comment. It takes a lot of courage to be in a space like this, to stand up in front of a mic, to tell people about your story, about your lived experiences, to share deeply personal and vulnerable stories. So I thank you for doing that. I thank you for being here with us. And I thank you I'm grateful for the fact that can be the first step in building a relationship with you all. So let this not be the last communication. We may not have given you sufficient answers to everything that you brought up today, but we can promise that our staff was taking notes, that we have recorded this meeting, and that we can circle back to each and every one of you. So I do ask that you sign the sign-up sheet if you haven't already, just to make sure that we can have a way to connect with you and contact you as we go back into our homework. And so feel free to reach out to the Office of Environmental Justice. It is, like I said, the reason why we exist is to build community, to build partnerships, and to talk to you about what's going on in your communities. We will never know unless you tell us. So I thank you for telling us tonight, and look forward to the conversations that we'll have in the future. Katie and Alyssa?
Yeah. I certainly want to echo everything that you just very eloquently said. And also, I believe something that we heard from Sherelle. We cannot do this alone. The federal government can't do it alone. The state government, the local government. We need all of you. So thank you for taking the time out of your very busy lives to come here and share your stories, and to bring to our attention the things that really matter. Certainly, it does not make sense for us to be sitting down in Trenton, making policy without having walked with you in your communities, understanding what it is that is a priority for you. So I am going to second also the idea that this should not be the one and done, the checkbox, that this should be something that we do over and over again, and that we really do start to build some relationships. And I cannot thank enough the partners in the room who do this every single day. The faces of the people that we walked around with earlier today, it was evident that they are so thankful you're doing the work. So thank you for everything you do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I could say that hasn't already been said. I will echo all of the thanks. It was a really valuable experience for me to be here tonight and to be able to see all of this. So thank you to the East Trenton Collaborative for taking us around. Thank you to all the community partners, community members who are here tonight. This is your time that you spent with us instead of all the things that you have to do in your lives. We know you're busy, so we really appreciate it. And thank you again to the church for hosting us tonight. It was very generous to let us use your space. We really, really thank you. And to DEP for partnering with us. So thank you. And we'll hang around if people want to talk after the meeting. So thank you so much. Thank you.